I'm Tracy Koga with something short and fun. This is a Hugh Soundbite. Hi, Jonathan. It's so good to see you again, and welcome, Devon, to Hugh at Home. Uh, it's been a little bit of a while. Jonathan, you were a guest on our Healing Hearts, and your story, along with Devon, is so incredible. And I wanted to take this opportunity to talk to both of you, go over your story again, but also to talk about strength in the circle and what it means, not only to Indigenous men, but I think men in general. Right, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Jonathan, Devon, how did the two of you meet? Now, and everybody, this is one pretty incredible story.
After my time in the military, I struggled with major depressive disorder. I was eventually diagnosed and traits of PTSD, and definitely was a problematic drinker. And I had moved back up north to Norrie House, Manitoba, and got involved in uh, the drug game and a lot of criminal activity. I guess I'll just blanket statement it. And I was heavy into cocaine and drinking, and eventually, I was no stranger to the criminal justice system. I was kind of just small offenses, but over time, very cyclical. And in the last year, in 2017, last year of my drinking, I was involved in 4 incidents with the police, and ultimately I ended up detained on remand status for just over a month. And I was very fortunate to have Veterans Affairs as a result of my tour in Afghanistan to offer supports, and I was able to get into 2 months of residential treatment where I was able to turn my life around, to gain the tools to change my philosophies and gain new perspectives on life, and basically sober up. But it was more about the outlook on life that really changed. It was really what I gained from all the support that I received. A year after that, after my sobriety date, I was out celebrating my one year. It was actually 1 year and 2 days, but I was out. The reason I was out so late was I got myself a steak dinner and with with a friend of mine, and we got on a bus, and that's where I met Devon, and so we got into altercation, and there was a knife involved, and I ended up getting stabbed in the back of the leg after a grappling match, and there was a lot of public attention, and I felt connected to Devon because of, I knew that he had been drinking and being Indigenous, and knowing what the struggle is like to a degree. Like I'm not saying that my path is exactly the same as Devon. Devon has his own story to tell, which is very powerful, and I hope he gains the right platforms for other men and even children to hear his story. But through that, I was able to take a restorative justice lens and ultimately connect with Devon, and we just learned about each other, got to know each other like deep, and today we're like brothers. We're looking out for each other and trying to see, well, who can we help out next? Who else is struggling the same way or in similar ways that we have struggled, and who can who just needs that extra support. So
Wow.
that's in a nutshell.
I
how
know. I know. Yeah. So, Devon, I guess your side of the story now.
All right, yeah, okay. Let's see. Okay, well, when the night I met Johnny, I was on a run and I was like, I just got out from federal. I went to the pen for a 5-year sentence, and yeah, just everything like things happened what I knew was gonna happen when I went there. Like I got involved with gangs, and it just kind of made me like a worse, like lost more into the dark path, And then then I got out with like no freaking support or nothing, and I was still in that life, And then like that's why I was like I used to drink so much, like weird, and yeah, I just drank too much one night, and I don't even remember that. Like I don't remember like that night, Like I don't even remember like seeing Johnny, like like weird. Like I just snapped out of it, like like I was just covered in some blood, and I was just like, shit, did I kill someone? Like I was scared, and yeah, then yeah, like I was like I was just told my lawyer like, yeah, I did it, alright, like alright, I just want to plead guilty and go back to the pen, because for me that was home, the
Mm-hmm.
pen. That's where I felt comfortable. And then yeah, I was surprised when my lawyer told me that Johnny wanted to like help me, that didn't want me to go back to federal, because like now I see it from where like he's seen like I see his point of view at the time now,
Mm-hmm.
because like there's a lot of guys that were like me, like who cares if I go back? That's home,
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like that's like he said, like who's the next guy that we could help, like because like there's no better help than like me, like somebody like me, like who's been through that shit, who knows what you need to be successful when you get out,
Mm-hmm.
like I know all that stuff now, like weird, because like to be honest, when I first got out, I didn't know what I needed, like because I always had nothing, and like like I've been out since October. This is the longest I've ever been out of jail for. I'm sober 60 days tomorrow, and that's pretty good, That's the first time ever getting sober without going to jail, and I actually have like a home now, that yeah, like actually I came home last night, and actually like I told my girlfriend this. I was like, this is like the best feeling ever. Having a house key, coming home, to my room, and it's like I would say I'm pretty spoiled, like yeah, because I have a lot of things that I never had before,
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So,
yeah, that's how like I think like like I think I had to like go to like through all that shit,
mm-hmm.
just to like be like who I am today, like because like I'm gonna like I really want to like help people, because I know what it's like to live like in the lowest, like word, and there's a lot of people out there who, if they had to support how I had it,
Mm-hmm.
they would be successful like me too, like word, they change their life around too.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, it's always so nice to have a second start, which both of you have done. So now let's talk about Strength in the Circle. Why did you want to form something like this, and do you have an idea on what Strength in the Circle is going to look like, and how are you going to try and get the word out, Johnny?
Well, when I first came into recovery, it was a result of the compassion of two strangers. I talked about this in my last interview. James Favel and his mother Janet Ross. Janet, lovely woman. She we lost her last year, early last year. Unfortunately, uh, she's in a better place. But when I first met her, um, she she gave me a place to stay, and she was like a mother to me. And it was just enough for me to get back on my feet and focus on my healing, focus on my recovery. And it was that experience that that uh, that really stuck with me. Because of that compassion, that's how I got involved in Winnipeg's Bear Clan Patrol,
Mm-hmm.
um, and just got hooked on giving back and wanting to look at myself and figure out what my gifts are. And for me, it was looking back at my experiences, and like Devon talked about, well, all that stuff that we've gone through. How do we take that and use that in a good way,
Mm-hmm.
to help others. So I already had this idea that I wanted to get into program development to help men. Um, See, that little short stint that I spent in provincial on remand status, I was there with other men, and a lot of them were saying the same things. Okay, I'm gonna get this right. I'm gonna turn my life around. I really fucked up. Pardon my language, um, but I really messed up. How I'm gonna get it right this time.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I had Veterans Affairs. I had all this support ready to go. Nobody else got that same support. And even after I did my residential treatment, the 2 months, I went back up north to Norrie House, and the supports were inadequate. Like, I knew that if I stayed up there, I would relapse.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that, and so that's what got me geared towards moving back down south,
Mm-hmm.
Winnipeg, where I can really wrap myself around in that community of support. Um, so yeah, I'm back on the streets with Winnipeg's Bear Clan Patrol. I knew I wanted to create something for men. I wanted to focus on young men, because I knew that I know that there's a lot of men out there struggling in Manitoba. Um, as Indigenous people, we were overpopulated in the criminal justice system. We represent 75% of the prison population here in Manitoba. Our neighbors to the west in Saskatchewan, 74%. So again, three quarters of the prison population. On a national level, we represent 50%, and this is unacceptable. And if you look at the recent discoveries with the residential school system, that's a stark reminder of what has happened and why our communities are in the conditions that they're in on a in on a social,
Mm-hmm.
or in a social lens.
Mm-hmm.
So the when I met Devon, that kind of ramped things up. It was like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
we really do need this, and we need to do it like now, because I was able to intervene in Devon's court process, and we were able to come together as a community and do uh, a sentencing circle. And it was the first of its nature in Winnipeg, of a crime of that level,
Mm-hmm.
and so we were able to set a new precedent of getting him released early, and into the supports that we were going to create. So while Devon was still in custody, we 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 got active with Strength in the Circle. We launched uh, three primary initiatives, which were all holistic by nature. Subgen awareness focused on mental aptitudes. It was learning the historical components of our current reality. So there's a lot of reading, and learning together. Um, and gaining that systemic overview. Another initiative was our fitness crew, so focusing on physical fitness, the social detriments of health, and uh, there's a lot of problems physically. And when you think about trauma and the physiological impacts it has, a lot of that can be helped through physical fitness.
For sure.
So it's important that we're taking that holistic approach. And the other initiative we launched was our sharing circles. So Peaceful Warriors. We had a men's group and a co-ed group, and the
Nice.
co-ed group was aimed to restore balance, to gain understanding of each other in our gendered roles, and all of our initiatives had a level of spirituality involved.
Yes,
So
definitely. Spirituality is really important. Devon, what was the one thing, or maybe there's multiple things that you take away with? I sense too that there's definitely a lot of anger involved, right? And frustration. But for you, how did you overcome that and become the person that you are now today?
I would say, to be honest, yo, I would say just letting people in, like in my circle, like letting them help me. It's one thing I never used to do that before. Where like I was like yo, it's like just me against everybody. Yeah, and like actually like letting the right people, like positive people, like just like letting them help me. And yeah, it's actually like yo, like I'm not like the same person like I was like the first day I got out of jail. Like no, I'm not. Yeah, like actually, yeah, and yeah,
Wow.
like weird. I wish some people could just see like the old me,
Hmm.
and then just see what I'm like now today. And I just be like, holy smokes, like what happened?
Wow.
Yeah.
So, Jonathan, too, there is also, I spoke about anger, the frustration, but there's also, I guess, that male role, right? That you have to play. And I think nowadays, too, right? I mean, there's all things about mental health. And mental health for men is really important because most of the time, they don't let people in, right? Devon, right? You were just saying you got to let the right people in. So, is this another thing too for strength in the circle, as to be able to talk, let your feelings out? You don't have to have that male toxicity anymore.
yeah, well, when I was just kind of at the drawing board with Strength in the Circle, um, the hot topic in the community was around toxic masculinity, and and I was and that was kind of where my focus started. It was like, well, how do we address this toxic masculinity? This idea that we're not supposed to have emotions, that we need to keep that bravado, or that we gotta be tough and all the time, and we don't have to have any room for vulnerability. And and so I was actually focused on toxic masculinity, and after talking with a friend who is a fellow advocate, I realized that there was a problem with that. I was like focusing on just the negative, and I was stumped, and I said, I really want to address toxic masculinity, but I don't really want to talk too much about toxic masculinity. And she said, well, why don't you talk about healthy masculinity?
Yeah.
I was like, you're a genius.
Gee.
so that's what I started to focus on, was what was healthy masculine. That's the conversation I wanted to have. And like I wanted to talk about, well, those things of we're men, but we have feelings. We can cry. We don't have to be tough all the time on the exterior. Vulnerability is a way to strength. Um, so, so that's kind of where the sharing circles were geared towards, was breaking those stigmas and those old beliefs.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Between the two of you, I think the more you talk about this, and we all know that you really want to help, that you are the perfect examples of how this can work. And what an amazing story. And it's very cool that the two of you now are like brothers. So that's proof that this does work. So congratulations to both of you. I know that this is going to grow, and especially in times like this, that we're still in this pandemic, and whatever normal is going to look like, it'll be different. And something like this will be definitely needed for a lot of people. So congratulations, strength in the circle. Thank you, Jonathan, and thank you, Devon. It's been a really wonderful insight into what you're doing.
Which
Which